In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The interest that each of us has to maintain our independence and the security of our peoples, and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order in which nations and peoples with different systems and different values.
Kirsten had it exactly right. I think there's a bunch of wrong-footed moves by Hank Paulson and the Illuminati of the country, if you will.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
Improved accuracy is coming to GPS technology. The Congressional Budget Office says new satellites will help boost civilian and military global positioning system receivers. Accuracy will improve to 3 feet, compare that to 10 feet right now. Work is underway to develop the new systems, and that could lead to as many as 90 satellites available for service instead of just 30.
Lady from Ohio. The only way they can pass this bill is by creating and sustaining a panic atmosphere. That atmosphere is not justified. Many of us were told in private conversations that if we voted against this bill on Monday, that the sky would fall, the market would drop 2,000 or 3,000 points the first day, another couple thousand the second day, and a few members were even told that there would be martial law in America if we voted no. That's what I call fear-mongering. Unjustified. Proven wrong. We've got a week, we've got 2 weeks to write a good bill. The only way to pass a bad bill, keep the panic pressure on. Now, what has the Senate done to this?
Here at Fox News. So now what?
Now what? What is happening right now is that Speaker Boehner did not get the votes, so they called off the vote tonight. In about 8 minutes, the Rules Committee is going to meet in the House. They are going to come up with a rule that makes it okay for them to do a same-day bill. So they'll pass this rule. It's, believe it or not, called martial law. And the next day, they'll come back tomorrow. They'll pass a rule for this bill. They'll debate the rule. They'll pass the rule, and then they'll start this process over again, and we'll have another debate on a new bill. Now, the difference is between these bills, we don't know yet. We don't know what has been taken out. We don't know what has been added. There's been some rumor that they'll vote on a balanced budget amendment in this bill, the new bill. There's been other tweaks that we've heard about, but we don't know definitively. But there will be another vote, and the Speaker hopes that there'll be a successful vote for to push this thing on to the Senate.
But we don't know what the hang-up is.
We don't, but obviously the hang-up deals with conservative Republicans who had a problem with this. So whether it's more cuts or a balanced budget amendment, something to sweeten the pot for the Tea Party conservatives is what they're going to try to do, because I guess there were just a few votes shy, and that's why they called off the vote.
All right, it's no surprise Republicans are very critical of where's the president. Is the president involved in unfair criticism, and what are the facts?
I mean, here's what the White House says, is that the president has been...
CBS 4 News has learned if mass arrests happen at the Democratic National Convention, those taken into custody will be jailed in a warehouse owned by the city of Denver.
Our investigator Rick Salinger discovered the location and got inside just today for an exclusive look. Protesters, Rick, not happy with the setup.
As you would imagine, Jim and Karen, they are not. This is a building filled with metal holding cells. We showed up at the facility unannounced today. The doors were wide open, and we managed to shoot for several minutes until a Denver sheriff's captain asked us to leave. The newly created lockup is inside a warehouse on the northeast side of Denver. Inside are dozens of metal cages. They are made out of chain-link fence material and are topped by rolls of barbed wire. Our presence here was not authorized nor welcomed.
And this is a secure environment, a secured area, and so we're concerned about how that's going to be utilized by people who potentially are trying to be disruptive.
Let them go! Let them go! In past conventions, mass arrests have taken place. With Denver's jails already overflowing, new space had to be created and officers trained. Each of these fenced-in areas is about 5 yards by 5 yards. There's a lock on the door. How long those arrested will be kept here is not known. A sign on the wall reads, "Warning, electric stun devices used in this facility." We showed our video to Adam Young and Zoe Williams, leaders of groups that plan to demonstrate during the convention.
Very bare bones and also very reminiscent of a political prisoner camp or a concentration camp.
I mean, that's how you treat cattle, and then you showed the thing where it said, stun guns in use, and just changed the word gun for bolt, and I mean, it's a meat processing plant.
The Sheriff's Department will not discuss the facility at this time.
But we want to make sure that we've got our game plan set. We want to make sure that the entire procedure is laid out, all the personnel know what they're supposed to do.
The plans were to keep this place a secret, at least for now. The American Civil Liberties Union says it will ask the city of Denver how prisoners will get access to food and water, bathrooms, telephones, plus medical care, and if there will be a place to meet with attorneys. And the protesters, Jim and Karen, have already given this place a name. They're calling it Gitmo on the Platte.
All right. Thanks for...
We have never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
Hurricane Sandy was blamed today for 2 more deaths, bringing the death toll to at least 125 people. 433,000 homes and businesses are still without power, and tens of thousands lost everything they had. Mark Strassman is in Oceanport, New Jersey tonight. Mark?
Scott, this mini-city is a state-run shelter camp, a series of tents that stretches across 40 acres in the parking lot of a racetrack. It's in partnership with FEMA's disaster response here, along with hundreds of mobile homes now on their way to areas devastated by Sandy. This is the evacuee mess hall.
Yes.
Okay. FEMA's Gene Romano took us inside the camp, complete with hot meals and hot showers. It was built for utility workers a week ago. It now houses 4,000 utility workers, first responders, and contractors in large heated tents.
We have some linemen from Canada that are here, the other people that are processing in.
But 200 storm victims also live here now. More show up every day.
We're here to assist them, and we're going to do everything possible to help them along the way.
FEMA hopes to relocate the evacuees within a couple days to other temporary housing. And the goal of everybody in this room, essentially, is to get
the power back on, get into housing, and close this facility down.
But 11 days after Sandy, thousands of storm victims along the coast still haven't seen the damage to their homes.
Total devastation. Actually, in my house, it's the total place has to be gutted.
Karen Hutchinson got her first chance today, along with 300 residents bussed into Seaside Heights and Seaside Park, New Jersey. They were allowed 2 hours to survey the damage and return with 2 suitcases of belongings.
The whole first floor the water went over the beds, the kitchen, everything's just torn apart.
324,000 New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut storm victims have applied to FEMA for help with rentals and home repairs. They can qualify for up to 18 months of housing help, a cap of $31,900. But in New Jersey, no one knows the true scope of the housing need. Your numbers will only go up is what's expected.
That's definitely. They will increase. More people will register. We'll have more opportunity to conduct inspections and verify the losses that people have had and help them with that beginning step.
This shelter camp is only contracted to be here for another week, although that could be extended. And Scott, there's another camp just like this one in northern New Jersey, and in New York they're talking about building another one on Long Island.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Picture-perfect city of Boston brings back memories and fears that Americans have not dealt with since September 11th. At the finishing line of the Boston Marathon, 2 bombs explode seconds apart from each other, killing at least 3 people, including an 8-year-old boy and a 29-year-old young woman, and leaving at least 175 people injured, over a dozen of them currently in critical condition.
Just got to be thinking about the people who didn't survive. thinking about a child that was killed, and then for the survivors, thinking about their family and their friends and them as well.
Witnesses describe what they saw as horrifying. Some people saw body parts being ripped off, others blood all over these sidewalks. While some people rushed to help victims, others ran away from the scene in chaos. Doctors currently treating patients in local hospitals say they've experienced one of the most traumatizing events of their careers.
The 2 bombs were reportedly homemade out of pressure cookers filled with nails pulled out of victims' limbs and black powder. The magnitude of the blasts was so strong that it sent debris flying onto building tops. Some victims needed second surgeries even after amputations.
It hasn't hit me yet. I couldn't sleep last night. I'm constantly anxious and nervous, and I can't focus on my studies because I'm a graduate student a block from where it happens. It's wow, that it really hits you.
Even though officials say there's no longer an immediate threat, security has been beefed up here in Boston and throughout the United States. The Obama administration has already referred to what happened as a terror act, but exactly what kind of consequences this will have for America's foreign and domestic policy remains to be seen.
Officials say they've been receiving thousands of clues from around the world.
A media frenzy surrounding the bombings. The United States has not seen a similar act in years. Officials are saying the investigation is still very fluid, with the majority of questions yet to be answered.
This is our city, our home, so you can't live in fear, but it's definitely always kind of going to be in the back of your mind. I don't see how it can't.
The FBI is in charge of the case, with more information to follow. As the investigation continues, Americans are trying to move on with their lives, overshadowed by thoughts of what the tragedy will mean for their future.
You can see it in everybody's faces, is this the beginning where America is now, we're now the American version of Beirut, a little bit more, and we're going to have to second guess every event that we have. Just as 9/11 changed travel, the concern that I've had, and I suspect that other people have it going through their mind, is this going to do that for all public venues now?
Over the last decade, the U.S. has pumped enormous resources into security, and steps often criticized for breaching the rights of U.S. citizens and foreigners alike. But what are the results, and have all these efforts created anything more than an illusion of safety? Anastasia Churkina, RT, Boston, Massachusetts.
Which we will continue to follow, coming out of Watertown near Boston. One suspect linked to the Boston Marathon bombings dead. Another right now being hunted for, considered extremely dangerous. A tense situation unfolding.
Everybody asked to stay inside of their homes, only answered the door to police officers. Right now, public safety mode. They are doing door-to-door searches, block to block. They will be talking to everyone in the area. They need to capture this suspect tonight.
For some of you, your local news is next.
For everyone else, we'll be back with more.
Breaking developments have taken place in the Boston area, specifically Cambridge and Waterton. A series of events have been playing out since 10 o'clock last night Eastern time, starting with an armed robbery at 7-Eleven convenience store and then the fatal shooting of an MIT police officer. Both suspects are confirmed to be brothers. Tanelin Zaranov, 26 years old, perished at a hospital from a gunshot wound and shrapnel wounds as well. The younger brother, Zokhar A. Zaranov, at the age of 19, he's still at large. As of yet, there has been no mention or update on the original suspect, who was brought into custody late Thursday night after being forcibly stripped naked. Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick suspended all public transit in Waterton and has since extended this measure to the entire city of Boston. Media reports have been stating relaying instructions to Massachusetts residents to stay in their homes